Prices for food on campus, whether in diners, cafes, or convenience stores, are significantly marked up when compared to the market-going price. The University of Maryland Department of Dining Services is able to charge such high prices because students are required to purchase a meal plan if they live on campus. Because of this, students are forced to buy the overpriced food. Students who are not on a meal plan seldom purchase food from diners because options on Route 1 are a better value for money, although often less convenient. These students are most affected by the prices of the convenience stores because they want to grab a quick snack in between a long day of classes, and the only option is to purchase food from an on-campus location. In 2014, the university sold 9,181 meal plans, and the cost of these meal plans was between $1,879.50 and $2,379.50 per semester. Dining services had a revenue of $56.5 million. The purpose of this project is to determine what the average markup of food on campus is, why the university feels compelled to have such a high markup, and come up with a solution to the high prices. The University of Maryland Department of Dining Services is in charge of the overall price setting at campus diners, as well as all of the on-campus convenience shops. The Department of Dining Services operates under the larger Division of Student Affairs. These departments are in charge of determining how many points students get, how much food items cost, and what unused points are for. The Department of Dining Services must coordinate with outside vendors and suppliers to bring food on campus. Both of these key departments and divisions are involved with the current issue of overpricing because they set the rules for how much a dining plan costs and dictate the prices of individual food items based on factors such as their inventory and labor costs.
The problems with the current policies and prices are that the university is upcharging these food items by the claim that it is more convenient. As shown by our price comparisons of on-campus meals provided by the dining plan and snacks provided at common shops throughout the campus versus off-campus options, the current prices show to be marked up approximately 80% more than if you were to purchase your meals off-campus. That's almost twice as much being charged by simply claiming that the convenience is worth more. Off-campus options to purchase snacks could include the CVS in the shopping center wedged between Knox Road and Route 1, or the Target Express that is located on the first floor of the Landmark apartment complex. By electing to venture off-campus to eat, you could be saving a lot of money in the long term. However, freshmen are required to purchase a food plan, so they have no options but to utilize the points on the overpriced food provided. In order to bring this issue to the attention of the policymakers, a group of student representatives must meet with the management of the dining services. By arranging a time to meet with the policymakers, they will be able to fully understand the problems with the current policies and prices that are being imposed. The only people who can make a difference are those in charge, and if we can effectively persuade them that price gouging is occurring, then a shift in prices may occur in the students' favor. By showing them quantitative examples of differences in prices, the Department of Dining Services may try to implement trials to encourage more students to dine on campus if lower prices were to be advertised and applied.
I mean, the prices at the convenience shops on campus are a little bit ridiculous compared to like the off-campus prices. If I have to choose between CVS and Common Shop, obviously I'm going to go to CVS. Common Shop only really makes sense if you have like Terp Bucks or like Terrapin Express, but a lot of off-campus people don't have that. So.
When asked about food prices at the on-campus dining options, an overwhelming majority of the respondents stated that prices were too high. Within the group that believed prices were too high, over half of the respondents said they felt strongly that the prices were too high. This clearly shows the overarching opinion of the student body on Maryland's dining services. This survey shows that only roughly 20% of the students that live off campus are willing to buy meals from the diner. This figure holds relatively steady in all of the off-campus living options, excluding the option to commute. Residents of the Commons showed the highest tendency to buy meals at Maryland's dining halls, likely due to their close proximity. This would likely be the most attractive off-campus market to Maryland's dining services. Contrary to students' tendencies to buy meals on campus, the majority of the same respondents claim to regularly buy snacks from the convenience shops on campus. However, spending behavior varies among residents of different residential areas. Residents of the Commons tend to buy snacks at the highest rate of 91%, followed by residents of the View and Varsity at 83% and commuters at 71%. However, residents of the Landmark and off-campus houses tend to avoid the on-campus convenience shops. Many Landmark residents avoid the on-campus convenience shops, perhaps in favor of the newly built Target Express. The majority of House residents claim to avoid the convenience shops too, with only 14% of the respondents buying snacks on campus. Although Maryland's dining options are in convenient locations, roughly 60% of Maryland students won't sacrifice pricing for convenience. However, almost half of the residents of Commons would be, possibly because of their close proximity to the South Campus diner. There are three main issues that students complain about when it comes to Maryland's dining options. The first is the high cost of meal plans, due to assumed costs from stealing, breaking things, and using the facilities. These are not costs that consumers who eat off campus have to incur when taking their business to outside food establishments. However, the university's rules regarding on-campus housing presents dining services with a captive market. The second issue is that, whether or not a student is on the meal plan, prices for the meals are not competitive with typical College Park establishments. Finally, students have a problem with the fact that dining services charge these high prices, under the notion of using that money for renovations to their facilities in order to compete with other universities. While improvement is important, these changes likely won't affect the students who are paying for these improvements. Instead, students just want an affordable meal plan.
After management conducts their analysis of what they believe are the key issues students are complaining about with regards to food prices on campus, it is necessary for them to go back to the student body and SGA so that they can receive feedback on the conclusions they drew from their analysis. This step in the process helps ensure that there is no longer a disconnect between what management believes students think the issues are and what the students actually say are the issues they face with regard to current food prices on campus. Coming to a mutual understanding helps management implement changes that meet the needs of the student body. Additionally, by going to the student body and SGA to receive feedback on their initial analysis, the students feel more involved in managerial decisions and will be more accepting of proposed solutions in the future.
The next step is to take action and carry out the solution. So, to correct the problem in a way that benefits both the university and its students, a trial must be done to see if lowering the prices at stores has a positive effect. We recommend that the prices be lowered to the average price of off-campus stores for a full school year. At the end of the year, if it is determined that the university had at least the same amount of revenue as when prices were higher, prices should remain at the lower amount.
In order for progress to be made, and for both management and the student body to come to an agreement, the right leader needs to be put in place in order to bring both sides together. For the issue we are trying to solve, the type of leader needed is someone who possesses both high consideration and high structure, following the ideas behind team management leadership. This is important because the leader needs to be able to form relationships with the students in order to better understand their needs and where they are coming from. Having a firmer grasp on the reasons why the student body feels that food prices are too high will help management be more willing to search for better solutions to solve the price issue on campus. In addition to having high consideration, the ideal leader needed to solve our issue also needs to possess high structure. The university runs on a strict budget that needs to be set by a certain date. It is necessary to have a leader that properly assigns tasks and obtains results in a timely manner so that the proposed price changes and budget for food on campus can be implemented for the upcoming academic year. It is also important for the chosen leader to be charismatic. Many universities have strayed from caring about the needs of the students and focus too much on pure numbers. It will take a charismatic leader to shift the mindset of many people in management in order for them to realize that it is important to look beyond the numbers and to recognize the real impact prices on campus have on the student body financially. Once management as a whole is motivated to try and understand the needs of the students it serves, changes can more quickly be implemented for the benefit of students financially.
Change agents in our case are at first the student body and the SGA, who will push the idea that food prices are too high onto management at the university's dining services. These students see a future for University of Maryland dining that the current management have not identified, and they are the ones that are able to create and progress this vision. Our premise is that upper management and the policymakers at the top of the organizational structure will understand this is a pressing issue after meeting with the students, and will then continue the steps necessary to implement the change. Since the University of Maryland is such a large organization, we realize a change like the one we are proposing is not something that can happen right away. However, over time, we expect management and then the university as a whole to follow through with the idea of lowering food prices and eventually implement the change throughout the school's dining arenas. As long as the trial run is long enough to collect the necessary data, we strongly believe lowering prices will benefit the students and possibly the University of Maryland's revenue stream. We expect to encounter resistance throughout the process. We expect to see overt and immediate resistance rather than implicit or deferred resistance. Assuming wages remain the same, changing food prices should not anger employees. Actually, we envisioned a scenario in which lowering prices increases student morale at the dining arenas and will carry over to the employees that work there. The resistance to change will come from top management, and it should be positive resistance leading to open discussion and debate. We expect to encounter various sources of resistance to change from an organizational standpoint. There will be structural inertia resistance within the organization, as the University of Maryland has formalized regulations to follow when implementing new changes. There is also a chance we run into threat to expertise resistance, especially if the people who originally set prices feel they did a perfect job and there is no room for adjustments. The original price setters may feel belittled if a group of students are able to do their job better than them, if the policymakers at the university agree with the changes. We will confront these possible resistances by using the education and communication tactic. This tactic will be the most effective in our situation because good communication regarding why we are changing the prices will put all concerned employees at ease.
In order to evaluate the success of the changes implemented by management, it will be necessary to see if any revenue loss occurred, if any, as a result of the lowered prices during the trial period. Additionally, in order to evaluate the impact of the changes put in place, it would be useful to keep count of how many transactions occurred during the trial period at various convenience shops on campus. If the number of transactions increased during the trial period compared to past semesters, then it would be clear that lowered prices encouraged more on-campus purchases by the student body. If the trial period proved to be unsuccessful, then discussions would need to take place in order to figure out why the student body is still not satisfied even though the main issue they are complaining about has been addressed. Perhaps the case is that prices dropped, but not low enough to compete with off-campus options. Whatever the case may be, the evaluation stage of action research here would allow management to see whether or not they are on the right track to finding a solution that satisfies both the university and the student body's needs.